give you one, or maybe is it two words? Bark cloth. Would you even associate this with Africa, with fashion even? On today's video, I'm going to be bringing an amazing guest today who is the go-to woman, the queen of bark, as I like to call her, to talk about the use of bark cloth within African fashion. So welcome to my channel. I'm Jacqueline Shaw, African fashion business coach and founder of African Fashion Guide, your online and offline platform to help you to start a fashion business that is made in Africa. And every week I bring you video interviews and trainings on getting your business started with a made in Africa or African inspired vision. So let's jump into the video where I'm going to bring you this exciting new idea and material, bark cloth. Let's dive in. Welcome again to today's video, and I'm introducing an amazing woman, someone I love intensely. This woman is amazing. Her name is Jose Hendo, a London-based eco-sustainable designer. She's an artist and founder of the initiative called Bark to Roots, and as well the R3 campaign, which we'll tell you all about in a moment. She is absolutely committed to the preservation of bark cloth and the environment. So let's speak to Jose and let's hear what she has to say. Jose, welcome. It's so good to have you here. It really is good to have you here. So I'm so glad because your whole initiative, the Bark to the Roots initiative and your R3 campaign, these are really the foundation of your work. And we're going to go into that in a moment. But first of all, for everybody who's like, what is bark cloth? Where is it from? Who is this red-headed lady? Show us some of the bark cloth before you even introduce it, because I want people to first see this, because once they do, this video is going to make them stay to the very end. So show them the different types of ways that you have presented bark cloth and transformed it into fashion goods, and then we're going to dive deep into your story. So show us what you've got.
Okay, so I have the original piece of bark. So this is a small part of a large piece of bark. So bark cloth can be about 8 meters to 3 meters wide, or 7 to 8, or 6 to 5. So depending on how big, how tall the tree is. This is a small piece, and it just shows you how the edges can be as well. But it can be very neat and tidy. It can be very stiff, can be soft. It depends on who's making it, where the tree, how old the tree is, and so many factors do affect the texture and thickness and how the bark feels. I'm wearing it as well, so this is a little bolero.
Gorgeous.
It is one of my signature looks, and I love to wear these little pieces because it can make an outfit look sophisticated, or dress it down, depending on how you want to do it. With a t-shirt inside or without it, it works really well. So that's, for me, this is the easiest thing to throw on if I'm doing a very quick interview or doing something I don't need to dress too much. So up or down, it doesn't matter.
Awesome.
I have to do it again. So, and then I also have used the texture of the bark to create a print. And I know as Africans, we love our print, right? So I have used the texture of the bark to create a print that is our current Signs of the Now print that we have selling online. And all the texture is inspired by the bark. So it's looking right deep into the textures of the bark and using that as a print. And also the words, the letters that you see there, all spell the words reduce, reuse, and recycle. Okay. So combining my two loves, reduce, reuse, recycle, which is my R3 campaign, and also bark cloth. So this kind of captures my whole, story in a nutshell. And I have some little products here as well that I have today to share with you. I have some eco fans that I have designed. When we sell these, we use those funds to plant more trees, because it's important that we keep this tradition going, and keeping those trees growing is, planted and alive is one thing that I am very passionate about. And so these products, and this is a bookmark as well, that we also sell to plant more trees. I could go on, but and then I have a little, but yeah, so I do have small products like those, which are easy to show you here. But if you want to see more, you'd have to go on the website or online. But yeah, so
you know what? This is why I needed to start with you showing, even just from the bolero. I mean, you are Jose Hendo. You are a sophisticated woman anyway, so it just shows of just that one piece. But people can say, okay, that's fashion. It can make fashion products as well as the fans and the bags and the earrings you mentioned, and even the bracelet, right?
Yeah, the bracelet. Yeah, and the earrings. Yeah.
We can end this video now. That's enough. But no, let's go in deeper, because now we have become aware of the material and how it can be executed and transformed into beautiful, beautiful products. Can you explain who you are, your company, and how you got it started, and just the why? Why Barcloth of all things? Please do share a bit more about you and your story and your company. Thank you.
I describe myself as an eco-sustainable designer artist, and the art artist has been something that I kind of struggled with. How do I, but then I am that. That's where I started, from art, expressing myself through, color, textures, and drawing, and all of that. And then fashion happened. So that's where my love has always been. And I discovered that I still had that artist in me when I went back to find that other part that was missing within the fashion industry. This is 21 years ago. And I then went totally against what I, wasn't sure what I would find. But then in my search, I found that artist in me. And that's how I work now, from that point to now, discovering that the fashion industry had so much to answer for. I had to find an alternative route to kind of stay within the fashion industry, but do something about what I saw was very destructive within the fashion industry. And so that's how I came up with the sustainable by design ethos, being the basis of my whole design process. The zero waste approach, the reduce, reuse, and recycling, the thinking about the environment, all that happened. It was always there, but I had no idea until I looked within the fashion industry and I saw what was broken. And then this artist in me, came out to express, so I can express myself unapologetically. I don't have to apologize, because I see what I see as an artist and I express myself through that. But I use that to tell the story of change, going away the throwaway culture, changing, the social change that needs to happen, how we need to be responsible. I start with myself, within me, within my home, my children, and then it spills out into my work. So everything you do has got to start from that point, and that's how I've managed to make this work, is thinking that way, thinking through, a whole kind of breaking the rules, yes, but then going back and thinking, why has this happened? How can we readdress and change things? And finding myself, my artist voice, was just so important. And the moment I found it, in fact, as I tell you now, I get so excited, because it scares me to think that I might not have found it. So I'm so grateful to God that He took me back to school, to research, to find this other person. I mean, this not other person, the person within me that was able to kind of then come out and do this. So to combine all my expertise that I had already gained in terms of knowing how to cut cloth and make cloth and design for people for so many generations. So
yeah, I mean, and you definitely are a designer that your products have to be seen in the catwalk. I mean, I know things are changing right now. At the time of recording of this video, this interview, but things are changing right now. But generally, your products have to. I feel, they deserve to be on the catwalk because they are pieces that they're like works of art. They should be in contemporary museums like the Design Museum or places like that, where it's innovation. It's not just fashion for fashion's sake. It's innovated fashion. It's got a reasoning behind it. It's not everyday clothing. And I think that's really, really beautiful. And if you're working now with the 3D communities in fashion or to do shows that way, whatever it may be, your products need to be seen in a particular way because of what they are. So in my opinion, you are very much, I call you the Queen of Bark, and you're very much the bark cloth expert.
You are too kind.
You are, man. I mean, who else? Anyone I have to recommend you want to know about bark cloth, and I just say, well, you have to speak to Jose. It's like, why not? You need to. And everybody who's watching this video, you want to understand and learn more. If this video is an introduction, but reach out to Jose herself, and details below this video. So I see you as an expert. Now the textile is coming from that you work is coming from Ugandan, which is your country of origin and your heritage. Whilst it's so important that you, I mean, I heard you heard your personal story in the journey, but the importance of you working with a textile that was from the country of your country of origin, and why was that so important, and what kind of impact is it having, in Uganda?
Well, my choice to work with bark started when I decided to go back and look at how we can change what's happening in the fashion industry, what's happening in the world. And then I needed something quite rustic, quite organic, very earthy, to tell my story about, to capture people's attention, draw them in. And so when I was looking, I looked at organic cotton, I looked at all these other eco textiles, and I went to France. I remember I couldn't find the right thing. And I kept thinking there must be something that I can use without changing too much of it to tell the story, because most of the things then you had to add sequins, you had to put pearls, you had to put crystals to make things, stand out and shine and look amazing. And I needed something earthy. So I was on holiday and I went to see my parents. And while I was there, I was shopping, buying souvenirs. And I found some of the souvenirs made out of bark. And it reminded me as a child that we always had like table mats made out of bark. We had wall hangings made out of bark. And I asked my mother and I said, this is so amazing, this cloth. Where can I get some of this? My mother said, I'll get you some. So she got me some amazing piece of bark. I thought, my gosh, I fell in love. I knew then this was it. So I thought I'll try it out and see what happens. The rest is history.
It truly is. It truly is. It truly is history. And, you have made a place in history by bringing it into a different light and different form. And it's got the ethical story, which means a lot for your brand, on the sourcing, on not even just the sourcing of the materials, but the telling of the story. Let's talk about your initiative, and let's talk about your work with R3 as well. So maybe you can talk about both of those two projects, initiatives, and then our readers and watchers can learn a bit more.
Okay, so what happened was then when I discovered everything is linked, as you can see now, is that when I found out how amazing the bark cloth was, I dug into the history of it. And in digging into the history of it, I realized that these trees were always there, but they were cut down quite extensively when all the other fabrics or cloths came to Africa. And people changed the way they kind of dressed and what they used in their homes or how they, beautified themselves. So we had then we lost a lot of trees And so the making of bark was dying. But there were also other impacts. It was, the missionaries coming through and the traders coming from the Middle East. And it just became a change, a huge change that happened in Africa, as you know. And when colonization came, that was another thing that changed things. People had to take on new ideas and appreciate new things. And so bark cloth became something that wasn't too exciting for people to use or wear. And so they prefer the cottons and the nylons and the whatever other textiles were there. Now I have to explain that bark cloth predates weaving, so it's older. For me, I think it's the oldest cloth made by man. So because the way it's made is not woven, it's the making of it. We'll go into that. And so with this happening like this, so what happened then, my realizing that this tradition could die down, I knew then it had to be saved because it's an important part of Ugandan heritage, and our heritage as humans, that we shouldn't lose this. So that was number one. Number two, in my research as an eco-sustainable fashion designer, we needed to find more eco materials to work with that don't cost the earth, that don't have, you don't need fossil fuels to produce, that don't have toxins in them. So I had to think about all of this. So for me, bark cloth being a totally organic cloth that doesn't need any chemicals to make, doesn't use too much energy to make either. My thinking was this is the best ambassador for sustainability. What makes it even better is that when you take the bark off the tree, you don't kill the tree. The tree regenerates another bark, and you can harvest from the same tree every year for up to 60 years, even more. So it was a no-brainer. I knew what I had to do. So then I felt my calling had happened. I knew that I had to save this, do something work with those people who are still working with it, whoever is trying to save it. So I was so lucky to meet the right people in Uganda who are very much a central part of this, which is the Botfa community. And they have been a huge part of me, taking me in and allowing me to work with them, to train young people, to plant more trees, to spread the making of bark beyond that part of Uganda where it has been for the last 300 years and take it beyond. So this is quite an exciting moment for me to be able to kind of use my platform as an artist. You create things that draw attention in, but the real deep reason there is to save this cloth, not for the cloth's sake, but also for the environment, because these trees that the bark is produced from are crucial to the ecosystem. So that's another thing. So it combines my two passions, fighting against the throwaway culture, fast fashion, and also doing something about the environment in the same process. And so it's become a huge symbol in my work as something that I use to create change, the social change that's needed.
So, everything, this is what we're trying to find, aren't we, right now? Fabrics, natural fabrics, which are regenerative. I can't get the word out. Regenerative.
Yes.
I know people love bamboos because it's fast growing.
Yeah.
Hemp because it doesn't use a lot of water, or silk cotton because it doesn't use a lot, and the natural cottons do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But conventional cotton does use a lot of water, which is great. It does have some challenges.
Yeah.
So finding different solutions of materials. I don't know. Are you seeing any of it fused with like quiff cottons, or bark cloth yarns or things like that? Are you seeing things like that developing, or more the technology in fashion being used?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'd love to hear about it.
I can see this happening because one of the things I have been doing, it's a shame I don't have a piece to share with you, but I'll send you an image that you can maybe put somewhere within the clip.
Okay, I'll put it in this clip.
Yeah. I have woven bark cloth with cotton, with organic cotton, but it is, the kind of weaving where you use the bark as it is and you use the cotton to be the cotton thread to do the weaving. So it's not, we don't break down the bark cloth into fibers, we're just using it as it is.
Gotcha.
And then we use the organic cotton to weave, to make a whole kind of piece of cloth. And I've made garments out of this. So I started like this because I want to keep it as natural and as simple as possible, because it's done the way you do the kente. The way you do the kente weaving and the way you do some of the other weaving in Africa, like how they do the bogolan, the cotton that they use with bogolan. So it's the same idea, hand looms, hand weaving, that's the idea. And it was very important to me to start like this and then progress into another thing, which is another thing I'm working on now. I can't quite tell you what it is because we haven't really managed to, but there's a lot of innovation going on. So I've been working on the weaving of organic cotton with bark for 17 years. It's taken a long time to get to 17 years in 2019, so now it would be 20 years it took me to kind of get to where I am now with a weaving bark. But it was so exciting. It's the first piece that I did were not quite right, but the idea was there and we kept working at it to get it to a level. And now I think we have got to a place where the possibilities are, but it's all hand woven, nothing done. Yeah. And I think it's important to kind of share that. So I find that quite exciting now to see where that possibilities are, to see where we can take this. So there's constantly, so much that's going. Sometimes I despair, but you have to keep going because it took that long for me to get the right people to work with to get this to that point. So I think, there is hope.
There totally is. There totally is. So Uganda, what should people know about the country? I've had the pleasure of going. It is a very unique place. Very, very. I just love traveling around Africa because every country I go to, I'm just learning so much new things and just enjoying every single one for their unique personalities. So. Uganda, I know it's a big country that you can't talk for the whole of it. What should people know if it's their first experience of Uganda, or they might be thinking about traveling there? What would you want people to know about the country?
Well, it is truly the pearl of Africa for sure. Yeah. It is. It is a pearl of Africa. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's got the earth is the same color. It's the same color as the bark. It's the bird. You remember this, right?
Yep.
So and the people are smiley. They are very welcoming and very helpful. So it is a very happy place, I think, in terms of the people themselves. I know that growing up as a child, this place was, what can I say about that? It's kind of, you can't get rid, it's a part of you. And even though I haven't lived there for years and not, I go there regularly. I try and go like maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but I haven't been, obviously, we're all in lockdown now, so it hasn't happened. But I all I can remember is the sun, and if there's rain, it's very, solid rain, thunder, lightning.
Yeah.
But it's a tropical place, the equator is right there. So it's a beautiful place. And the green is so green and the blue is so blue, and the skies and Lake Victoria. But there is a sad element to for me in terms of fashion, where I see that that there could be more happening there because Ugandans are very creative. But the textile industry has suffered so much because of secondhand clothing. And that is, I don't know how this will be managed because so many people have made millions selling secondhand clothing, but it has totally annihilated the industry, the textile industry. That, where people would be buying, from people who locally produce there, who are, fabric that's produced there. And we have organic cotton. We have so much to,
very good quality.
Yeah. One of the best qualities of organic cotton, but the battle to keep that going, as compared to conventional cotton is huge. And so I think it's important that, there has to be a compromise. Something has to happen to create a balance between the secondhand clothing and, the textile industry there. And hopefully that will be something that happens soon. One of the things that and that's why I started my R3 campaign, because of the secondhand clothing becoming a huge part of taking over the industry, not just there, but everywhere in the world.
Yeah,
it is a big thing. So the R3 campaign started because of the Rana Plaza incident. So that's another thing. That is in 2013. We know what happened in April.
That's what birthed fashion revolution as well.
Yes. And for me, as a designer who was already that way inclined in terms of trying to readdress this problem with fast fashion and the costs of it, I thought I was doing it quietly. So in 2013, I decided I have to be vocal. I have to be more outspoken. So that's when I started my R3 campaign. And I had the R3. So that's a huge part. And in fact, in this writing in here, you will find the R3. So there's always a 3 somewhere, and there's always an R somewhere. That became a huge part of what I do now. So you'll find my clothing will have the R3 on it. That's what it stands for: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Simply as that. Because we cannot ignore the lives that we lost that year. We cannot ignore the lives that continue to disappear because of our need for the next best clothing produced with people compromised to such an extent that their livelihoods are just non-existent. They don't have lives to enjoy. So we have to think about the choices that we make have a far-reaching impact, more than we could ever imagine. You buy a 50 pence t-shirt. What does it mean? Who's made the money? Where has it come from? You can't tell me the man who labored for months growing that cotton. You now buy the 50 pence t-shirt, and then after one summer, you throw it away. How does that work out? I'm not saying things should be expensive. All I'm saying is
it should be priced at their worth.
Absolutely, that is
That's why the true cost is a great documentary.
Absolutely, that is it. All these things happened, and for good reason. And so by the time all these things happened, I was already on this warpath because I started in the year 2000 to redirect my fashion career and go against fast fashion and go against all these things. So 2013, it was about time that change needs to happen, to see what happened in the Rana Plaza incident. So in Uganda, in Africa, as you know, secondhand clothing takes over. So unless people change it and either take the secondhand clothing and repurpose it, use it as raw material to do something. And I think in Ghana they're doing it, which is really good.
They're trying. It's just the whole. It's a systemic thing where of the fashion and textile industry, where it's part of it and it's so ingrained in this industry.
Yeah.
As a solution for fast fashion, textile wave. It's just now it's gone. You've done a good thing. by sending it to developing countries, third world, all these comments that come through. But the truth is, somebody's paying for it, aren't they? Somebody is just going to make waste. It's not going to disappear. It's making waste in just another country. It's just been removed.
Absolutely.
Now the Ugandans, and the Ghanaians, and all the other countries where the clothes from the global West is being sent to, they're dealing with rubbish.
Yeah, that is it.
And that's why absolutely it needs to change. And your work, your initiative, your campaigns, it's highlighting this. And I think that's why it's so important. That you support your work and what you're doing, and you have been doing this for a while. So I appreciate you as well, and I'm sure everybody who's watching is going to appreciate and learn more from you.
I hope so. Because one of the things that happened that same year is when I started the Back to the Roots, is when I went in 2014. So the 2014 is when I started the Africa campaign in January. In Fashion Week, actually, I only had 3 garments on the runway: reduce, reuse, and recycle. That was it.
Yes.
And so, so that same year, I took my work to Uganda for the first time, and we had a part of Kampala Fashion Week. I'm really grateful for that invitation from them, and we had a huge story going on there. But I also did an Earth Week campaign, small meeting, and then a Back to the Roots thing as well. So the two of them came together. So my Back to the Roots takes me back to the community. So it's bark to the roots. It's almost like bark cloth to the roots. So it's taking my bark to the roots, taking back to Uganda. When I was there, people said, no, you can't just do a one-off thing. This has got to be a continual thing, an annual thing, where you come back and we have these discussions and encourage other people to use it. So then it became Bark to the Roots initiative. So now it's an annual thing, which is something every year. So then that Bark to the Roots, it's an initiative that's anchored in the Sustainable Development Goals. It encourages us all to save our heritage and the environment, all in one, together. So my going back to the community then, taking this cloth in my take as an artist, they could not believe this is a cloth they make. They thought, honestly, they looked at the bark in proper garments on the runway, and they thought, no way. They thought it was velvet. They thought it was.
You're changing the mindsets of your own people. So you're not even doing it in in UK, Europe, etc., US, wherever it may be, but also back home.
Yes.
Their own material.
Yes.
I love it.
It was important that these men who've been working with this material for years see it in a different light. So then it gives their work purpose. So it's not just about making it because it was predominantly used for funerals or just for the king to wear or for the king's palace. But now they can see beyond this. So they now know that it is an important part of what they do. So they have to keep going. So that connection to this day was the best and one of the biggest highlights in my life, connecting with the community that make the bark, going back to the plantations where it's made. Even now I feel like, it was just a powerful moment to see how the cloth is taken off the tree. I adopted some trees. I planted trees. We're still planting trees. So we have a whole huge plan to plant, very ambitious, to plant 1 million trees. But yes.
People are doing these things, and why not?
Yeah.
All we have to do is envision these things, and you're someone who you go against the grain. You're not a traditionalist in the sense of, you might be traditional in some particular ways, but you're not in when it comes to fashion. You all say, I'm going to go against the grain of what people may see as normal fashion. And I'm going to do something that I'm going to normalize, something that they would never even have imagined. I'm going to showcase this in the way that you'd never imagined, even back home in Uganda, to show what can be done and the possibility. Because sometimes people just have to see it. Like I'm looking at those earrings, I'm thinking, why did I never think to even get some bark cloth earrings? So I'll be talking to you after to get some. Let's talk about that. Actually, let's kind of segue into that. Because your details are all below this video.
Yes.
But maybe just highlight where people can get your products, like how, you, because it's not going to make sense if you just have the product and you're sitting at home, it's on the catwalk show and that's it.
Yeah.
You're selling products, people are bringing them to the market, you have your fans and all these other products.
Yeah.
Where are you selling them? What's your your entry to market? What kind of sales channels, that's the word I'm trying to find, are you using to get this product into more hands?
Okay, so we do pop-up shops. We do have an e-store, and the e-store is on our website. So if anybody wants to have a look and see, we do have an e-store now, and we are upgrading it at the moment with more products. So we're bringing more products in, and some that are sold out have been pulled out. But as it is lockdown now, I usually encourage people to come to the studio like maybe once a month to see what's new, what's happening. But at the moment, because of lockdown, we haven't been able to do that. So everything is being done online. And I encourage people to have a look and see what's there. And and we have been in shops before, but I always feel it's difficult now, as you know, to kind of have maybe things will change now because I have no idea what's happening. But we have been in boutiques, in places. We are in a comparison in a hotel. Sold there currently, but obviously it's lockdown. It was lockdown in Uganda, so most people were not going anywhere. But there are other places in Uganda now that we're looking, especially with the tree planting aspect of things. We need to sell as many of these little things as possible to generate, because that's how we generate the funds to support our initiative. So that's a really important thing for us to do. And so another thing that we do as well is try and do collaborations with people who are doing online selling and stores and things like that. But with lockdown now, it's our e-store. That's what we've been selling. Most things have been selling from our e-store. That's how it's been working out. And so it has been a very interesting time. I've found myself doing more art, using the leftover pieces of bark to create all kinds of little things that, eventually will end up somewhere.
Awesome.
Presents for friends, birthday cards and all kinds of things.
That's the creator in you, and and I see that you're bringing in the family as well. You've got your daughter involved in some of your work. She's obviously she's your daughter, so she's from a different generation. I like the idea that you're showing that it's not just for a particular age group, for the kings or the chiefs or that level of people, or a particular age group of women or men. It's what's the word I'm trying to find? It's contemporary as well, and finding ways of translating it into contemporary products for the home or as gifts.
Absolutely.
So through your daughter as well, and I'm sure she's going to have loads of different ideas, and it's keeping the tradition of the family going. How important is it for you to have her work with you in ways on this business for the future?
Working with my daughter, she's been my little support system from when she was 12. It's been an amazing journey because she's a very talented artist herself. She's got her own creative input, opinion, and obviously she brings that young voice to the whole thing. And I remember when I started designing beyond, like collections and things, and people would say, but how do you keep the young voice there? And I said to them, I don't see myself as my age. When I'm putting design on paper, I'm not thinking it's for a 60-year-old, it's for a 15-year-old. I'm just putting my thoughts down on paper. And then when it transforms into a design, then whoever decides, this suits them all. But I think it goes across the board. But I think she also brings a playful elements, a young kind of voice to it by, when we brainstorm and talk about ideas. In fact, we are working on a collection together for next year. But yeah, so it's been really lovely to have her be part of this. In fact, it's crazy because sometimes I see all of them wear me when we're going out one time, and I think fantastic to have these young people. I have a son who's her brother comes after her, and they have a younger son who's 12. In fact, today he had on clothes day at school, and he chose to wear my R3 campaign bomber jacket. So what does that
so
say?
cool.
With his Puma with his Puma trainers. I thought,
Maybe she reached out to Puma.
What
I used to work with them. They're very innovative. You never know.
Yeah. So he chose to wear me. So so I would say that I have tried, because I have obviously had to make clothes for my children. I've always kind of tried to keep it young and happy, so they can embrace it and also be part of the story. So that's been really lovely, and my son's modeled for me as well, my older son. So keeping it in the family is good. It is good.
So I'm loving that, because if we don't, some of these traditions and these textile traditions just do die out. And I think there's a lot of innovation to go with that textile. I mean, I remember when I was starting my journey, doing my ethical masters 2009, maybe even prior to that, really, just the whole hemp story. I remember just the whole hemp story itself, and that was something that was seen as not so pliable. People saw it as rough and very eco, and then might see the same with bark. But yet, now if you see hemp, you wouldn't even know. I remember I did bridal wear as well, and I was using hemp silks for some of my wedding dresses that I made. So there's so much options that I think that there will be an opportunity to work with some, maybe, I don't know, some scientists or textile technologists in Uganda or somewhere like in Germany or somewhere where they're very good at that kind of stuff. What can be done? So we need to have a fundraising campaign to work on the technology of this textile.
Absolutely. I think that's what's needed now, because I think for me now, getting the right funding to do the right innovation is so crucial. And that's one of the things that I find is lacking at the moment, getting the support that we need. Because I think one of the things that I have suffered from, and you know about, is that invisibility. That's a whole other story, right?
Oh, wow. Yep.
Yeah, being invisible and just being set aside constantly and disregarded, regardless of what you do. So, but for me, what that did for me is just fueled me on to keep going. I just kept going regardless. It didn't matter. The fact that, what I was doing was not until now. And I find it quite surprising in a way to be more. I have had more of my work taken seriously in Germany than here.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very
But what's really exciting now is that we have one of our garments, a recent acquisition, going to the Museum of Scotland, NMS, National Museum of Scotland. And that garment is bark cloth upcycled, with upcycling a garment using bark cloth. And so it brings my two passions right there. My R3 campaign with bark cloth glued on an international stage for everyone to see. So it is now in the National Museum of Scotland. I'm really grateful for that. It's so humbling. It's such an honor to have them want this happen. And the British Museum as well. Wow. It's just all these things happening. I'm so grateful that
you're the queen of bark. I'll keep saying it. So they'll find you.
Yeah, I am really grateful. Honestly, I'm really grateful. It's you have no idea. As a student, a design student, I used to walk through, the museums and think, would I? Impossible. So don't even dream, forget it. And so when I cried, honestly, because it was just so.
Congrats for every single achievement. I'm sure there's many more to come.
Honestly, it is. Yeah, I am really grateful because it's God's grace. There's no way I could be doing what I was doing without God in my life. First God, and then fashion.
She said it. So just to close up, we're hearing about all these amazing things coming up. We've heard about the history, we've spoken about the future, and the opportunities. But what would you just give, just if there's just like two key tips for people who may be thinking of working with Uganda or working with the textile, the bark cloth, or just getting into fashion? Just two tips that you want to give them, like for business, for fashion business, or for bark cloth business, so they can take something away with them. Please share.
Okay, so the key things that I think that we need to keep in mind is that the choices we make have a far-reaching effect. So choosing to work sustainably is important. I think we all know that now. The natural resources are not going to last forever. So we have to be mindful of our impact on the environment. So that's one key thing. So if you're going into fashion, think about this. And then with regards to Uganda, I think there's so much Uganda has to give. And it's not just the bark, it's the organic cotton, it's all these other things. There's now banana fiber as well, banana textile as well. So there is so much that Uganda can give, and not just the cloth itself. Having said that, there's also the fact that you can also have your things made there. So that's another thing. They are manufacturing factories there that will help, produce leather.
Yeah, we have many of our
accessories
as well, so
garments. Yeah, so there is so much Uganda has to give. But I think, as a citizen of the world now, we have to think about the fact that we're not just in our little part of the world doing our own thing. We're all connected, one way or the other. If South America has got terrible rainfalls, no rain, the rest of the world will suffer because we're all connected. Everything affects all of us. So if we plant more trees and create a good ecosystem in Africa, that will spread out to everywhere. I think we're very much aware now about the Sahara sands, how they are ending up here. So if the Sahara sands can end up here in the UK, imagine what else. So we're all connected. So it's not just about me in my little corner and you in your little corner. We all have that connection. And with that connectivity, we need to think about how we use the resources that we have and what we do with them. So that's what I would say to anyone thinking about fashion, wanting to do something in fashion. This is what I would ask them to do. Think about your story. What do you want to leave behind when you are done with what you're doing?
What would you like to leave behind when you finish doing when you're done with what you're doing?
Yes.
I think that's really important. It's always kind of looking back. And that's kind of key. I remember, just a quick story before we end. I remember I was going through a door one day. And it might sound so weird. What's she talking about? I went through a door, and it was just a normal door. It wasn't a revolving one, just a normal door. I went through into a building in the supermarket, somewhere like that. And then I just let it slam behind me. And there was a lady coming behind me, and she stopped me and she told me, the door nearly hit her. And I was much younger then, and I felt really, really bad.
Yes.
And the importance of it, and since then, I never stopped looking back.
Yes.
And I think just in that small kind of example, just the importance of looking back for what you're doing, for the mess that you're leaving, for the waste that you're creating, for those who are coming up behind you, in business, in life, in all the way doing
everything.
Look back and be considerate in that. And I think it's important to remember people to think about that. So it's a really great message that you gave. And
I like that. In fact, I'll add to that. One of the phrases I always use, and you can quote me on this, is the history of a garment is just as important as its future. Yeah, that's a phrase that I came up with, in my work, because I thought you have to, the connection is,
it's so true. It really is. It's how you use it. It's how it was made, how it started, how it got to you, how you use it, and how you finish with it.
Yeah, that's it. It is. And so when you keep those things in mind, when you keep those things in mind, you will not, when you're designing, when you're making what you're making, you will want to know where that came from, why that, and where can I take it? Nothing will be insignificant. Everything means something. That's what it is.
Wow.
The history, and that's a phrase that for me, that grounds me.
Say it one more time.
The history of a garment is just as important as its future. So now take the word garment out and put the history of anything, the history of a product that you've made, the history of a creation is just as important as its future.
I think on that note, that's an amazing way to finish, you know, just the fact that the bark cloth is doing exactly that. You know, the tree is regenerating itself. And,
yeah.
You know, yeah. I really, and it can go back into the ground.
Yeah. So that is it. That is the
great new trees from
the secular approach to things. That is the secular idea, and that's where my resonance research 20 years ago. That resonance collection is a secular approach to fashion. All those garments, if you throw them away now, they'll biodegrade. There are no zips, no buttons, there's nothing in there. But I had to break that box, step out that box then.
Yep, you did.
Do what I did then to be where I am now. It had to happen. So that's so important to keep these things in mind.
Thank you. I think, Jose, you have dropped some nuggets today. For those who are watching, if you've stayed to the end, I'm sure that you're leaving this interview feeling stronger, feeling enthused and ready to go and do some amazing work and to seek out some bark cloth textiles. All the details are below for anyone who wants to learn a bit more about the work of Jose Hendo and, you know, to get some piece of bark cloth fabric. So I want to thank you once more. I'm Jacqueline Shaw and I am the director of Africa Fashion Guide, and I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel where we will drop a new video every single Tuesday and Thursday here on this channel, and you will get the support and the motivation to start, build, grow and launch an ethical and responsible fashion business made now.